All right, Fed minutes are set to come out in a couple minutes here, guys. They could give this market a little bit of a boost. We will see what happens. We'll see what happens here to the indices. Still stuck at that point of control resistance. We're seeing Bitcoin trying to make a little bit of a push here. Some stocks are catching a little bit of a bid. Liquidity is trying to front run the Fed decision. Bitcoin down about 4% heading into the Fed minutes. Dollars trying to push here. So initial spike up in the dollar getting faded here off the Fed minutes. Yields have kind of remained unchanged. Gold still at zero point 0.4, nat gas still ripping. Bitcoin trying to find a little bit of support. Really no bid in the S&P 500's kind of stayed fairly muted. NVDA kind of muted sideways. See, the Dixie had another little intraday spike off the Fed minutes. Yeah, all the call options premium just spiked. You got a big news event, Fed minutes. You also have a Fed member speaking, so it's natural to expect all the call premium to spike. TLT did, S&P did, pretty much everything did. So you'll still have the algos digest this report, guys. I mean, right now you're getting some preliminary speculative hawkish chatter from the Fed saying that they're likely trying to keep rates remaining unchanged, no more cuts, but really it's not what the Fed curve is saying. If we look at what that CME watch tool is telling us for the next meeting, still getting a cut this next meeting here. Let me see here. Actually, that's one of the reasons why the market sold. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, the Fed rate cuts consensus has definitely changed, guys. Wow, I didn't even know that. That's one of the main reasons why the market's been selling. Actually, the probabilities have changed quite significantly of no rate cut in December. Wow, damn. Now we know why the dollar is ripping. It's that. Hmm. That's probably one of the main reasons the markets have been so weak here. It's not a Fed meeting, Dom. It's just the minutes. Not a Fed meeting. Just the minutes. So they already came out somewhat hawkish across the board, but it's been a fairly muted reaction. Market's just pinned again. It's kind of a nothing burger at this point. If this power hour has started, you still have the markets very, very vulnerable and weak. The IWM's down, Bitcoin struggling, nat gas still surging, dollar still ripping. 10 and 2-year yield have firmed up quite sharply. You do have stocks trying to bounce a little bit here ahead of NVIDIA earnings. But so far, it's been a short the pop environment. VIX is still negative on the session. So NVIDIA earnings are at 420, guys. NVIDIA earnings are at 420, and then the other decent one, yeah, I know. Think they do that on purpose? Jensen Huang smoking up, hitting a bong right ahead of the earnings call, and then you got Pan W at 405. Dom C saying he's cleaning his bong in preparation right now. Getting faded ahead of NVIDIA earnings, eh? Just gonna boost some shatter. That's even harder than weed. A little bit more pure, higher concentrate. Setting up your rig. Got your blowtorch. Tesla's pretty much given up all its gains. Netflix just nasty. You knew I had a dab rig? Yeah, way back when. Way back when. I'm in Canada, so weed's been legal for many years now, federally. So I used to live in BC. I went to a 420 celebration. I shared a joint with Snoop Dogg, but I haven't smoked cannabis probably in a year, just over a year. But I used to do it a lot. I got involved in it for sleep aid. I was robbed at knife point and I had trouble sleeping, so I started using it as a sleep aid. And then I used it a little bit more recreationally, but I've given it up. I lived in White Rock, BC. White Rock, BC. But I was in downtown Vancouver when I was at the 420. And this was before it was even legal in Canada. But they usually cornered off a whole big section. I remember people used to set up booths. There was magic mushrooms, there was cannabis all selling, and there was this one vendor that had like those rain barrels full of cannabis, and his business venture was you pay, I think it was like, I don't know if it was 10 or 20 bucks, but you pay a flat fee and you can literally grab as much cannabis with your two hands as possible, and that was what you got for, I think it was like 10 bucks. So like people were getting the person with the biggest hands possible to scoop their cannabis. It was pretty crazy. Trader 586 is from Alberta. Nice, nice. My brother was actually born in Edmonton. Snoop, snoop, snoop. Yeah, reminds you of Cheech and Chong. No, I think Nvidia is going to make a big move. I think upside, guys, on Nvidia. You know, I posted that revenue chart in the TC Education group, and I don't know if it comes close to that. You know, it's projecting a 16% revenue jump from last quarter. So to me, if it even comes close to that, that's going to be big. You figure from Q1 to Q2, Nvidia's revenue only jumped about 6%. So if we look at these earnings, right? So from Q1 here, reported 44 billion to Q2 reported 46. That was a 6% jump. Now, this revenue, if it comes in line, that's a double digit jump. Talking over 16%. If it comes even close to that, you know, double digits for the world's largest company is big. I mean, with that type of revenue, unless they just completely crap the bed, I'm finding it hard pressed not to think that if the stock comes anywhere close to this 54.9, I mean, I don't know. But you never know, right? It's all a gamble. I played my play is upside QQQ calls, short dated. So again, if you're playing earnings, just size for loss. Don't go in with a quarter or half your portfolio or full. Just you have to be able to lose it, right? But again, strong revenue growth projected for Nvidia. So we'll see what happens. We will see. Dom C saying a continued bear market would be a surprise even for me. This is a fake out market dip. Anonymous has $700 on 660 puts. Yeah, I'm indirectly playing the Qs, upside calls. We'll see what happens. You know, another way to play it is SOXL or SOX. SMH should move even more. So there's a variety of different ways. ABGO is acting very strong. Microsoft has just been beaten to a pulp. You don't see Microsoft down this much without a bounce. We've had some pretty nice corrections in large companies, guys. You've pretty much completed almost a measured move, a symmetrical move here. 63%, 63 point decline, 11.48, 70 point decline, 12.6% down. So you've had some really big moves, guys. Down. Meta included. You know, Meta's just absolutely free falling. AMD is still a little extended, triggering a head and shoulders. Micron's still a little extended. Western Digital still a little extended. Taiwan Semi, that's acted pretty poorly over the last few sessions. Gone through a bit of distribution. Oracle has been absolutely decimated, but trying to defend a little bit of support here. Yeah, BTC also, right? Sucking on the session. Everyone's scared about the potential MSCR, Michael Saylor scam, Ponzi scheme scam. I still think that the likeliest scenario for BTC is very soon. I mean, maybe you go a little bit lower, but I think we get a bounce and then you'll have the chance of creating a potential right shoulder. You have a very long-term head here. It'd be very, very difficult to see Bitcoin just free falling here. I would say a bounce here to either create a right shoulder or to keep pushing higher, creating higher highs, but we'll see what happens. It's been a tough. I mean, I've lost money trading on the long side this week. It's been friggin' tough. Every single pop gets sold into. You've broken some key areas. It's been very, very tough. Yeah, BTC is getting close. I think it's getting close to a pop. Again, I mean, you look at why BTC is weak. The dollar ripping, right? Dollar's trying to break out of a big range here. And it's got more upside. The dollar should. But things happen in stages, right? The dollar should eventually head to this second fib retrace zone. Yeah, there's always a sweet spot, right? It's tough to know how much your option is going to get crushed, but generally there's definitely much more volatility priced in to the contract ahead of earnings. So NVIDIA is not as bad as some companies, but there's definitely some extra volatility priced in. So that's why if you go too far out of the money and it doesn't get there, you're kind of screwed. I don't even know what the implied move for. That's why I'm indirectly playing the Qs. Because NVIDIA, if NVIDIA pops, right, it's going to breathe life into pretty much all the other stocks, all the other semis, which will help the Qs. So, but if it drops, obviously it'll weaken everything else too. So, double-edged sword. So I think it's better to play it indirectly. Yeah, Anonymous saying you can always adjust by shorter, further out of the money options, for sure. A little bit of a pump here, guys, into the close, it looks like. We've now tested this area. Basically, this is a third time's the charm. Getting a little bit of buy side pressure into the close here. Yeah, I like Rocket Labs a lot. there's no real company on the publicly traded stock market to gain exposure to the space trade. ASTS is a different type of stock and it's pre-revenue. There's really nothing else. SpaceX is private, obviously much bigger, but private. Nice little squeeze here. We'll see. It's a big level, right? It looks a little bit different. It looks like we're getting that power hour squeeze. Probably some short covering into the NVDA report, and then some aggressive buying. Like I said, the expectations have been lessened for NVIDIA. The fact that it sold off double digits from the highs into the earnings report, it just kind of, not saying it's a full cleanse, but it definitely lessens the impact of the earnings report. Dixie is softening as well, so they're trying to save this candle here, guys. They are trying to save this candle, that's for sure. Big squeeze into the end of the day. Big We could still try to push above that prior day high, but a little bit of resistance here. But it's looking pretty strong. Big squeeze. Holy moly. Big squeeze. Oh my goodness. The QQQ calls that we even took are ripping. Ripping. Again, guys, we got a ton of bearish sentiment regarding Michael Burry, potentially Michael Burry unraveling the big AI scam, how liquidity is one big Ponzi scheme shuffling around. So it's pretty bearish out there, guys. Fear and greed indexes was single digits there. I don't even know what it's trading at today, but there's a lot of big bearish, lot of bearish headlines. So this report's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. All I can say, I think if NVIDIA comes close to that forecast, it should rip. You know, what more could you ask for? If you hit double digits growth as the world's largest company, what more could you ask for? I mean, I'd be shocked if the market doesn't like the report at double digits. So SPX, guys, has not confirmed the breakdown of the head and shoulders, but you're sitting right at the neckline. Go figure, eh? Look at that neckline. That's crazy. They really know how to manipulate these markets. They get max liquidity involved. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I know, it's almost like they've done this before. Like everyone calls them market makers, they're more like market manipulators. I need a snack. I'm just gonna go grab an orange or something, guys. What are we? Still 36 minutes? Amazon's trying to go green. Microsoft still sucks. Meta still sucks. Google's still acting well. Apple acting well. Nvidia's still acting well. Netflix sucking on the day. Nastiness. Just a sec, guys. See, guys. People sleeping on this stock. Block has had a huge move over the last hour. Investor conference, share repurchase. Look at that gap up on XYZ, guys. Huge news. Investor conference. I don't even know what the news is, but let's find out. It's gapping up intraday on an S&P 500 stock. It's crazy. Just saw some of my positions explode there. Looks like it might be a revenue raise guide. Block C's 2026 adjusted EPS $3.20. Block C's adjusted EPS up low 30% range annually through 2028 to 550. I guess that's it. Stock is ripping, guys. Holy moly. Look at that volume. I don't know if that's the headline or if it's their investor conference, but you don't typically see a gap up intraday on an S&P 500 stock. You'll see it, when the market's not open, but wow. Look at that. That's crazy. Up over 5%. Shaking and moving. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Rip it higher, baby. Let's see you at 65. Come on. I was literally like, what the hell is going on? All of a sudden, my calls just ripped. That's insane. The parent company of Square and Cash App offers an upbeat long-term earnings forecast as it hosts its first investor day since 2022. Block operates a Square business which sells blah, 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 blah. All right, so yeah, it's a higher than expected revenue guide, guys. Boom, ripping. It is ripping. Let's go. Block raises guidance, guys, at their investor conference. Ripping. Let's go, Block. That's crazy. Nice price action. So with this type of news, guys, oversold S&P 500 stock, bullish engulfing on the daily, potentially a weekly bottoming tail building here. When an S&P 500 company raises guidance, Wall Street loves that. If this can hold these gains, plus NVIDIA comes out strong, man, it's gonna rip back to rip back to this consolidation range in no time. I like it. I like it a lot. Bitcoin's trying to bottom as well, guys. BTC catching some of that bullish liquidity. NVIDIA still underneath its 7-day moving average, even with the 3% move to the upside. What, the XYZ? No, XYZ. I mean, XYZ was manipulated to the downside, shook people out ahead of their investor conference. And then they just came out with a fundamental change, right? A revenue guide up. So they were the street was expecting lower than expected revenue. And they just surprised the street literally 20 minutes or 10 minutes ago with a higher than expected revenue guide. So that's positive. That's very, very positive. It's very similar to like what we've seen in Marvell, where they've announced some strategic partnerships where it jumped up here. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens though. Obviously, one day doesn't define a trend, but so far, When Wall Street gets a revenue guidance, it usually follows through with positive price action. And the news just broke, not too long ago. I mean, we've been watching it now for 10 minutes, but this is the news here at 2:50, 3 o'clock, boom. So I think this was the stock actually halted there for a second. Maybe, I don't know. Crazy. Let's look at XOM. XOM still remains firm. S&P. It was halted, yeah. Yeah, it looks like it was halted. Yeah, it was halted at that 250. So we'll see if it holds its gains. It's obviously always a long shot, but uh, they're saying, what do you think about 190 calls for next Friday? Sounds pretty safe on NVIDIA. What's NVIDIA at right now? I mean, nothing's safe into earnings. Literally nothing is safe. If the report comes out good, do I think NVIDIA can easily hit 190? Yeah. If the report comes out decent, I think NVIDIA can fill this gap by the end of the week. But it's earnings. Nothing is safe. I shook my crystal ball, and all it told me was size for loss. Yeah, Friday the 28th. I mean, it's safer than this Friday, but nothing's safe when earnings. I mean, if NVIDIA misses or the reaction's poor and stays in a bearish consolidation range, I mean, the volatility is going to get crushed, sucked out of those contracts. So, like I said, nothing's safe. Nothing is safe. I don't care. I mean, it's all risk, right? It's earnings. Anything can go. Do I think that's a close strike? Yeah, it's very close. If it pops, do I think I can easily hit it? Absolutely. But again, it's earnings, guys. So just understand risk. If you're going to risk it for the biscuit, be prepared to walk away from that money. I mean, it all depends on how much of your portfolio you're putting in, right? If you're going in with $1,000 and it's your only $1,000, you know, I'm trading two QQQ contracts valued at, what is it? Just under $700. That's what I'm putting in my lottos. Which it's like not even a 1/4% of my portfolio. This is new money. I blew my portfolio. God, man, I don't know. I can't really tell you. I honestly can't tell you what to do. All I can say is I'm in QQQ Upside Lottos, two contracts, which are like tiny percentage of my portfolio. Not even a 1/4%. So it's tough to tell people that are in trading from a revenge trading or kind of, it's very tough. Oof, look at XYZ, ABC, XYZ. Do you know your alphabet? Because this stock is squeezing. Look at that, up 8.43% on ticker square and block. If this keeps trending, if NVIDIA reports, our $65 calls could be in the money tomorrow. Damn. Damn. That's crazy. Squeeze, squeeze away. Trader 586 saying my best guess is the big dogs let NVIDIA fly and then sell into the volume. Yeah, that could be the case for sure. I could see that as well. You know, I'm expecting NVIDIA to push higher. I don't see this. I don't see it getting dropped too hard. But not with the revenue forecast that it's expecting. So if you make your bed, whatever trade you take, you got to lie in it. Win, lose, or draw. Come 420, you'll pretty much, well, not by tomorrow, you'll really know if you're going to be regretting and saying I'm a fucking idiot, or if you're going to say, yes, I'm the best, I'm a boss. Time will tell. Nothing like this business. Time will tell. Toast and PayPal had sympathy plays, obviously less impactful. Actually, I haven't looked at those. Good observation. Didn't even think about that. Yeah, Toast getting a nice little peekaboo push up. PayPal as well. Again, PayPal's another company, guys. I just can't believe how disgusting it is down here. I mean, it's just day after day getting clobbered. Absolutely slapped. You are seeing Bitcoin now also making a little bit of a move off the lows. So you're seeing a little bit of that extra liquidity coming back into the market here ahead of the print. Look at that nice little bounce on BTC. Potentially a bullish engulfing candle on your hourly time frame. So things are looking a little bit better. You're getting some extra liquidity coming in to the market. DPRO flying. Interesting. Trade desk trying to go green off of the lows. Rocket Labs is squeezing guys to the high side. Let's see what happens. S&P 500 still ripping. Wow. This is the move I was expecting to happen intraday, a continuation off of this bullish move. I was quite shocked when they imploded this price and chopped it around, but what a move there. That's crazy. Big push in the market, guys. Big push. We need a big savior. We need Jensen to save us if you're a bull. Jensen needs to save the market. If you're bullish, Jensen's got to do it. 20 minutes left in the session, guys. 20 minutes. Your puts are back at break even. Yeah, it's crazy the swings, right? That you can get. Yeah, that's why I exited my calls at this impulse candle. Usually after a big impulse candle like this, into a decent resistance area, a previous consolidation or zone. I mean, you don't usually go much higher. Sure, maybe into the end of the 10 minutes, last 10 minutes, maybe they can push us back higher, but the time was running out for me, so I just decided to close those calls. And I took a small loss, but they recovered most of the losses, so. XOM still selling off a little bit. Let's look at WTI crude. That's actually trying to break out here, guys. Crude oil looking pretty decent. Adobe, AMD, Micron. You look at one of the big champion companies that got a huge bump up from that NVIDIA key conference, Nokia. Look at Nokia today, guys. I mean, if NVIDIA does well, you would think Nokia is gonna rip here. Maybe they just absolutely wrecked people, cleansed people, but damn, that's crazy. To think Nokia was gonna hold on to these games, you had to be mental. I mean, absolutely mental. That's crazy. Still remember shorting that intraday. But you would certainly think that if Nvidia does well, this could be a sympathy bid. It's been absolutely decimated. Hmm. Who else did Nvidia shout out in their keynote? They gave Palantir a nice shout out. Even Palantir, right, has been a bit of a failed breakout here, but sitting right back at that EMA 113. You haven't tested this level since you broke out here in April, the tariff sell-off. Pretty crazy. Well, guys, make sure you're ready for some interesting earnings after the bell. NVIDIA, Pan W. Just cannot hold their gains, just getting slapped right back down. Popcorn ready. 420, guys, 420. A lot of people are going to be watching NVIDIA at 420. A lot of people are going to be smoking at 420. Some people will be doing both. But that's when the earnings are coming out. Heater, I'm so scared. Uh-oh, me too. Just, how about don't check it? Just wake up this tomorrow morning and see what's happening. Like we could all refrain from checking what the stock does. Says I'm taking flyer on the TQQs at an even $100. Good luck, good luck, good luck. You know, one stock that's not really phased about this sell-off just yet. Ticker XYZ. Still trying to push as SPY's coming down. Impressive. NVIDIA getting slapped here into the close. Apple getting slapped here into the close. Google still getting slapped here into the close. Amazon trying to stabilize. Tesla trying to stabilize. Mr. Softy trying to stabilize. Meta still trying to push up here. Snapchat just a dog but catching a little bit of a bounce. BTC still trying here to push up a little bit. Netflix just nasty. What crazy price action Netflix, eh? You go from up to down. I mean, damn, that's disgusting. The amount of bullish liquidity they trapped yesterday, insane. That's insane. And Netflix looks like it wants 106 now. Crazy. Nice price action in Tempest AI today. Nice price action in Dragonfly, DPRO. Good price action in Rocket Labs, trying to hold steady here. Good price action in Intel today, up 2.34%. Rivian continues to sell off here. American Airlines are basically flat on the session. AAL. What else we got? How's that NUAI doing? That one's still trying to build out a base. Big Bear AI, still trying to build out a base. QuantumScape, still weak. Lots of insiders selling in QS recently. Serve Robotics, still weak on the session. ENVX, Still super weak on the session. LIDR, nasty. Archer Aviation, just nasty with it. Joby, still backing and filling. Dirty Dog. What about some of these other high flyers? D-Nut, not doing much there. AEO, still trying to push. Abercrombie and Fitch, ANF, not doing much. Under Armour, still weak down here, but very, very oversold. Lululemon, give up a majority of its gains, but still green on the session. Let's look at some of these bank stocks. Wells Fargo bouncing. XLF bouncing off of the daily 200 moving average. You got JP Morgan showing a little bit of strength today. Bank of America showing a little bit of strength today. Regional banks are still holding positive structure action. Regional banks are doing really well, pretty much at the highs of the session. Very good price action. Very, very good. Bitcoin trying to break out again. What else do we have here? Google still holding steady. Ethereum still down 6%. XOM catching another fat bid. So you can see how important this neckline is for your S&P 500. 1 attempt, 2 attempt, 3 attempt, 4 attempt, 5 attempt, and now 6 attempt at trying to get above that neckline, and price action keeps getting rejected. So it will be up to NVIDIA to get the markets through that area. BTC catching some liquidity off the lower boundary support there. Let's look at the volume on BITO down here. Pretty thick off that candle. Weekly volume. Yeah, the weekly volume's tapering off. I mean, there's still a few days left, so we'll see what happens, but still a lot of volume. $63.4 million shares, 63.7 million shares on the QQQ so far. It'll uptick a little bit more, probably another million or two. SPY, 78.4 million, not too much volume. Not too much. Enough, but not too much. Bitcoin still acting well. SoFi turned green. SoFi. It's another one that's in an interesting long area. It's been bouncing off this channel for a couple days now. Looking somewhat interesting. Open Door. A little bit of a failed breakout, it looks like, on Open Door. Meta's catching a bit of liquidity here into the close. Trying to end the day with the daily chart bottoming tail. It is squeezing here into the close a little bit. You can see communication stocks are still showing some strength. Google taking a little bit of a dump. Amazon getting a little bit of a pump into the close. Microsoft trying to push into the close. Apple dumping into the close here. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Tesla getting a little bit of a push into the close, and finally NVDA getting a little bit of a push here into the close. Semiconductor basket SOXX trading up on the session 1.78%. So even though the indices have underperformed, your semiconductor basket has popped up through its little bearish neckline. Things that make you go, interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's look at the SMH, where that's sitting, since that is much heavier and influential for NVIDIA. SMH still underneath its 7-day, but look at the SMH, guys, closing today above the 50-day moving average, and we look at the SPX. SPX is well below its 50-day moving average. You look at the QQQ, well below the 50-day moving average. So if the market follows semiconductors, and if this SMH move holds true, it's saying that we could push back up to the 50-day moving average on the main indices. It's a big if, but 420, guys, 22 minutes, you will have NVIDIA's reaction and earnings report. 22 minutes, all right? 420. All right, guys, thank you all for tuning in as we head into the final minute and a half here. Tomorrow should be an interesting session. There will be lots of sympathies in semiconductor land if NVIDIA poops the bed or if NVIDIA saves the day. I should have probably made a little bit of a poll, but we'll see what happens here. All right. Cabin wants to leave the stream up and you'll keep going? All right, I'll leave it up. I'll leave the NVIDIA reaction up. Do I have a bet? Yeah, I'm betting up on NVIDIA. I closed my SPY calls, my trade that I was stuck in all day, my zeros. I closed them at this candle here, but I still have, I sent out it's in the option trading group. I sent out my alert. So, yeah, I closed the zeros. I have QQQ lottos for tomorrow. Or sorry, for Friday, not tomorrow, for Friday. I took the 606 lottos for Friday. So we'll see what happens. All right, we'll put up Pan W here. We'll put up NVIDIA so you guys can see it. Anonymous is inputs, so good luck. All right, guys, that's an easy victory. If Anonymous is inputs, they're going to gap this market up. But he has been right today. So, all right, pre-market hours here. We'll go to the hourly chart for NVIDIA. We will look at Palo Alto here. Step away for a brief moment, because the earnings for NVIDIA is only at 420, so nothing else really matters. I mean, Palo Alto is a minor one. We'll see what happens. But that's kind of the big one after hours, so I'm just gonna queue up my news feed here. Let's put up NVIDIA, and we will also watch for Pan W. I don't need that one there anymore. This article just came out, what, 36 minutes ago on Reuters. What is it? Trump MBS meeting brings AI money. Really weird. Well, you know what? I mean, one way or another, someone's going to make money. We'll see which way. That's what makes a market, right? So Palo Alto is one of the first bigger ones. I mean, there's a few smaller names like Joy, KLIC, FINV, ODD, but nothing that's going to be market moving. Palo Alto 405, revenue estimate is 2.46 billion, EPS is 73 cents. So right now Palo Alto's been pretty beat up into its earnings report. There is a pretty massive gap fill here on the daily if it wants to drop. One could argue Pan W has triggered a head and shoulders formation. So you can see it over here. And this downside, should the pattern resume its downtrend, takes it down to about 191, give or take. So, I mean, we'll see if the technicals are right. We will certainly see briefly and momentarily. I was saying I have a friend in Morgan Stanley, and we would have weekly meetings on the Wednesday afternoons. Once in a while, it would overlap with the NVIDIA earnings release, and you'd feel the hype on the call. Live stops everywhere. Yeah. Well, you figure how much money. I mean, you think that if NVIDIA was a country, it would be the third largest country in the world, just behind China and US. So, just to put that into perspective, right? It's insane. It's truly insane. Yeah, it's crazy. It is cray cray. Yeah, market's in a bear. It has a bit of a bearish undertone to it. So if Nvidia has a horrendous report, we're in trouble. This market could easily get crapped on. But simultaneously, if it comes in with that blockbuster revenue, I'm gonna find it difficult to believe it won't push up. He got himself fired. Big investment settlement, couple million settlement. Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about a big fat one-time payment, right? Imagine you get a couple mil settlement and you know how to trade. 2 million in the markets, you can make a pretty penny for yourself scalping. You don't need much compounding interest to even just live off of. For frig's sakes, when you could buy a bond for 5% yield, you park $1 million in, what was it? I think it was 60 grand at the high. You park 2 million bucks, it's 120K, just in residual income. Just moved on to the next bank. Who cares? Yeah. Anonymous. You got to get us some inside tips. After all, your username is anonymous. No one can dox you. Nothing on here is financial advice, but insider trading advice? I would never insider trade, but if some piece of information fell into my lap and I did my own due diligence, maybe. We're seeing a nice pump in Bitcoin. Hike up on Pan W, initial wick higher. Palo Alto Networks Q1 net 334 million, EPS 47 cents, revenue 2.47 billion for Palo Alto to beat on revenue. And it is a Q1 adjusted EPS 63 cents. So they beat on revenue, and I'm pretty sure they beat on their EPS. I don't know, I'm getting two EPS prints here. I'm getting 47 cents, which is a miss, and I'm getting 70, and I'm getting 93 cents. But they beat on revenue. All right, they beat on EPS 93 cents. So Palo Alto is a beat. Stock is reacting pretty poorly. Double beat. So Pan W beating stock right now. It closed at 199.90, trading down 90 cents. So, but it had a big spike up. I mean, you look at this move on Pan W, and that was a quick 6% spike up. Interesting. Very cool. But Pan W not doing too well right now. Palo Altos Networks appoints Mark Goodburn to board of directors. Announced retirement of Mary Pat McCarthy. Whoever the heck that is, I don't know. Quarter two revenue growth 14 to 15% for Pan W. Outlook for Q2 revenue 2.57 to 2.59 billion. Investors are not liking that. That's for sure. It's working. All right, so Palo Alto guys breaking to the downside pretty hard. Look at that. 191, 190.50 on deck. Anonymous saying there's a jobs report tomorrow. Initial job loss claims. Are we actually going to get those numbers? I know it says it, but they've been doing weird stuff with the BLS. You have Philly manufacturing, non-farm payrolls, building permits, housing permits. I mean, I don't know if we're actually going to get that tomorrow with the BLS. They've been doing some weird stuff. All right, so Palo Alto also falling on a higher capex spending. They're announcing an acquisition, guys, on Palo Alto, a 3.35 billion acquisition for PanW. Chronosphere, 3.35 billion. Interesting. Sphere. So Chronosphere is a cloud-native observability platform that helps engineering teams monitor, troubleshoot, and optimize their distributed systems, especially in containerized and microservices environment. Chronosphere provides end-to-end observability by collecting, storing, and analyzing telemetry data, metrics, traces, logs for modern cloud infrastructure. Its platform is built to reduce data complexity by filtering and transforming high-volume telemetry at the source. Control observability costs through intelligent data retention and aggregation. Accelerate incident response with real-time dashboard alerts, root cause analysis, and tools. High skill integration, blah, 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 blah. Founded in 2019 by ex-Uber engineers Martin Mao, Rob Skillington, headquartered in New York and hubs in Seattle and Vilnius. Chronosphere competes with Datadog, Grafana Labs, Honeycomb, New Relic. All right, guys, 2 minutes. 2 minutes till showtime. This is the real report. A minute till NVIDIA earnings expectation is 54.87 billion, which represents just over 16% quarter-over-quarter increase in revenue. If they can print this revenue, I think the stock will push to the upside. Let's see the reaction. that is in place for the world's largest company. Heading into the report, NVIDIA's market cap is 4.53 trillion. 7-day moving average sitting at 188.35. 20 days sitting at 193.39. EMA 113 sitting at 174.45. Here we go. NVIDIA is pushing so far. Initial reaction is up. NVIDIA Q3 revenue 57 billion. Beat. Huge beat. Wow. EPS $1.30. Big beat on NVIDIA. 57 billion. That is huge revenue. Holy moly smoky. That is insane. NVIDIA saving the day. Huge print. Guide up, guys. Holy moly. Strong. This is crazy. Damn, that's a big ass beat, guys. 57 billion for NVIDIA. That's insane. Crazy. Holy moly. What the heck? That is crazy, guys. 57 billion. Our QQQ calls are ripping. Look at QQQ. QQQ pushing to the upside. Balance is restored. We are going to be ripping here. That is crazy. 56 billion print? Come on, those are phenomenal numbers for the world's largest company. I mean, I don't care how bearish you can be on AI or whatnot. That is a report and a half by Jensen. No wonder Jensen was invited for dinner at the White House because this stock is absolutely ripping. Right now, the company closed at 186 and the stock is already up a few percentage points. Obviously, we have to see what the earnings report says, but forward guidance is strong. The report is strong. If Jensen fumbles this earnings report, I would be shocked. That is a stellar report, both on today's report and on the forward guidance, guys. 57 billion. I mean, your last quarter you printed 46. That's over a 10 billion increase from last quarter's revenue. That is mind-blowing. 46.74 billion. Holy moly. That is almost a 22% revenue jump from last quarter. Insane, guys. All right, we have seen the reaction, guys. Hopefully my QQQ, I'm in 606 again. We will see if this price action can hold, but so far, stellar report across the board for NVIDIA. Good job if you're long. NVIDIA sees Q4 revenue 65 billion. What? It's insane. So their next quarter is 65 billion, guide. That is nuts. That is nuts. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.